Joe Biden may be in the White House, but he's still in the basement. Absolutely. I don't know if it's technically downstairs or upstairs, but he is in hiding just like he was in 2020. Remember that? COVID was the big excuse. Joe got to stay in the basement, 1 or 2 media appearances max a week, never really on the campaign trail because he was a gaffe-prone machine. Anything could happen. They exploited, to the hilt, COVID. It protected Joe Biden. And the cases against Donald Trump are their protection for Joe Biden. It's like the new basement. The cases against Trump, if you've been watching this show, you know, and I know, that everything that's happening to him is a crime. These are fraudulent prosecutions, no doubt in the world. However, I was a little bit naive because I would seize these cases and read the indictments and just drill down and prove how that's false and how they're railroading him. But I just joined in to the noise. Granted, most of the noise was on the other side disagreeing with me, but altogether, it sounds kind of like this. All right, that's enough. That's enough. All day long, it's about Trump. Today especially, tomorrow, yesterday, that's it. These criminal cases. And what does that mean for Joe Biden? You know, this should be a referendum on Joe Biden's presidency, but somehow it's not. Joe Biden lost a war in Afghanistan. We all saw it. Is anyone talking about that? This is his legacy. How often is he confronted with new, fresh questions about Afghanistan? Virtually never. How about inflation? We're still in the grips of it. I mean, what I buy lunch, I eat out, it is insane. I'm making tuna fish sandwiches from home now and peanut butter and jelly. My wife actually makes them. I'm not going to buy lunch out. Nobody is. The Ukraine invasion, everybody knows. 61% of the American people believe that this would not be happening if Donald Trump were still president. And what about the border? That's Joe Biden, all right? That's him. And for every indictment, for every case, for every hearing, for every motion, we're not talking about this. We're not talking about the transgender mess that has been encouraged and embraced by Joe Biden, the sexualization of children. The moment in America has been designed really to protect Joe and hurt Donald Trump. I don't agree with everything that Chris Christie says. Remember Chris Christie? But he kind of nailed it when a few months ago he predicted that Joe Biden could not really sustain a presidential campaign.
Do you see Joe Biden on Air Force One doing 7, 8 campaign stops a day at 82 years old and being effective? Can you imagine how many gaffes there are going to be in those speeches? How many mistakes? How many outright falsehoods there'll be? Not because of any other reason than he's just making it up. Look, he is not capable of running a traditional American race.
It's totally right. COVID kept him off the campaign trail in 2020, and now Donald Trump's indictments and these phony cases against him, well, the scrutiny is off of Joe Biden. And, you know, it's quite apparent now that Trump is not going to get convicted in any serious way, at least before the election. And I thought, great, okay, then this has worked to his favor and he's enhanced in the polls. But they still have kind of dirtied him up, right? I mean, if you falsely accuse somebody, you kind of dirty them up. You also rough them up, literally arresting somebody, tie them up, take them off the campaign trail. Even if they don't get a conviction, some of this plan has already worked for them, but it does also look like it's backfiring, doesn't it? And some of the other things that Joe Biden has gotten away with. I mean, this is the documents, the classified documents in his garage. Can anybody believe that this happened? And we're just going to pretend it didn't? We're just going to blow it off? You know, look at that dump of a garage. And everybody has kind of a sloppy garage, but that's bad. Where were the documents at Mar-a-Lago? On a stage. And only, by the way, a sliver of these documents, I'm talking about 2 folders full, were actually classified. You know, I've been in that room. I've been in that very room. My interview with Trump from last year was in that very room. You know the security to get into that place? Incredibly intense. I had Secret Service dogs. I had metal detectors, wands, barricades that you had to drive through. You can't just walk in there like you could into Joe Biden's garage, especially when he was an ex-vice president before he started running for president. So he's off the hook? No, he's not. We have to remind everybody just what, forgive me, a hypocrite Joe Biden is. I was going to say something worse. This is the ultimate moment, I believe, in hypocrisy. We all know about the documents, right? The documents that were found in Joe Biden's possession. They try to make this look worse than it was, Donald Trump. They took them out of the boxes, threw them on the floor. Biden actually had them on the floor. And remember Joe's reaction?
When you saw the photograph of the top secret documents laid out on the floor at Mar-a-Lago, what did you think to yourself, looking at that image?
How that could possibly happen, how anyone could be that irresponsible. And I thought, what data was in there that may compromise sources and methods? By that I mean names of people who helped, or et cetera. And it's just totally irresponsible.
How could this possibly happen? The President of the United States caught in the ultimate moment of hypocrisy, and everything's fine. They want us to forget it. They want us to be obsessed with this motion and that indictment and Judge Smith and Judge Engoron and all this nonsense. This guy has so much to defend and he can't explain it. And folks, if you watch this show, I'm the only guy who knows this in the country. It's accessible to everybody, but no one, and I mean no one, has reported it, that Joe Biden himself loaded the classified documents into the vehicle at the vice presidential residence himself. Yep. Now, a couple of quick things. That is the vice presidential residence. It's called the Naval Observatory, and Joe Biden, with his wife, lived there between 2009 and 2017. From the Hur report, we know that classified documents were all over the place at the Naval Observatory. That wasn't really a big problem. It was kind of a problem, but this is where it gets really, really bad. When it's time for Joe to move out, when he's no longer going to be the vice president, Georgetown movers show up. You know, the moving company, they actually had a work order that said Joe Biden didn't want anybody packing certain boxes. He wanted to do it himself, and he was loading those boxes onto the truck, okay? Now, the Hur committee, the Hur investigators, are basically saying that Joe was loading classified documents onto that truck. It's just logical. And they cited one military aide recalled seeing him, Joe Biden, packing by himself and just him moving his stuff one at a time into the truck. This is really, really bad for Joe Biden, but it's almost like it never happened. We're worried about checks that Donald Trump wrote himself to his own attorney in 2016. You're allowed to do it. It's not like he stole money from anybody. It was his money. What really bothers me about this also is that it wasn't picked up by members of Congress. I mean, they could have had a field day with this, right? No. I mean, I don't know, some staffer picked out what they thought was important. I think what we just saw is pretty damned important and devastating for Joe Biden. So many members of Congress, well, they're just not into the job. They all want something else. And this guy, Congressman Mike Gallagher, Republican of Wisconsin, for just a few more days, you know, he's quitting on April 19th. Too late, apparently, for them to have a special election where they could possibly get another conservative in there. So with his leaving, Republicans are down to a one-vote majority. And I think this is a total betrayal and a dereliction of duty, especially for a guy who talks about duty on our country all the time. His last election, he first got elected in 2016, but in November of 2022, look at that. 223,000 people came out and voted for Mike Gallagher for a 2-year term. That's how long these things last. 2 years, 24 months. But he's quitting with 8 months to go. That is 1/3, I believe, of the work he has, of the work that 223,000 people voted for him to do. Now, why is he leaving? Well, he's complaining about a couple of things. Number one, he says Congress has now become, Congress is devolving into a green room for cable news shows and social media stardom. The guy does a lot of cable TV, by the way, but that's okay. Here's what it looks like he's really leaving for: a job at Palantir. There's some sort of tech company. One report says he's going to work as an advisor to the CEO, Alex Karp. Now, I don't know much about this company, but take a look at the money Alex Karp pays himself. I have a feeling if you're in his orbit, you're going to do very, very well, don't you? I guess that's an offer too good to refuse, right? You just blow off your constituents, even blow off the country. I could take it from certain individuals leaving, but from this guy, Mike Gallagher, and his self-righteous prognostications about how good he is. Check it out.
My family first came to Northeast Wisconsin 7 generations ago in 1845. Family taught me the value of hard work, of service to community, of service to country.
These things are so nauseating and canned, aren't they? You know, most families are yelling and screaming about getting the homework done. Give me a break, all of it. It is, but I guess people fall for this schmaltzy stuff, don't we? Next.
And I felt I owed an enormous debt of gratitude to my family, to this community in Northeast Wisconsin, to everyone that helped raise me and all the experiences I had. And I wanted to pay back a debt I felt I owed. And I just felt that if I looked back and I didn't do my part, that I would regret it. We need people who will step up and serve. We need leaders. We need leaders who are ready to fight every single day to protect our rights, to protect what makes us great as a country.
Is really intense about walking that woman down the sidewalk. Right with me, man. Every single day, except the last 200 days of the term, right?
And I will work harder than anyone else in defense of our Constitution, on behalf of this community, and on behalf of your families, our state, and our country. And you will know beyond a shadow of a doubt that your congressman is ready to fight every single day for this country and for Wisconsin's future.
Beyond a shadow of a doubt, he will fight every single day for Wisconsin and the country. Nope, he's out of there to make a gazillion dollars. And that's unfortunately what almost all of them are there for. We don't know too much about what these guys make because they're private citizens, but sometimes we get very interesting windows. Tom Daschle, he was Senate Minority Leader for a while, I think Majority Leader too. He got beat when he ran for re-election a while back, and then he wanted the cabinet job under Obama, and he had to release everything. In 4 years, this guy, it was like he was in one of those booths with the money flying all over the round. Let's take a look at his, he needed to open a whole mess of bank accounts to squirrel away all of this money. That's crazy money. And what was his skill? What could he do? I guess he could get things done in Washington. Paul Ryan, the man who lost a talking contest with Joe Biden, he's on a million different boards. Those are all part-time jobs. Imagine getting this much money on the Fox board, $335,000 for a job where he has to work a couple of days a year. We gave him that stuff. Hey, I'll say this for Daschle and Ryan, though. They finished out their terms. You know who else didn't besides Gallagher? Boehner. Remember him? When he couldn't be speaker anymore, he just left. So, Mike Gallagher, I do not think he has any future ever again in politics. Too bad. He was actually a pretty sharp guy, but he betrayed his constituents and I believe really let down the country. So remember this, though. Overall, the stuff that's happening to Trump, total sideshow. One of the benefits the Democrats think they're getting is that Joe is protected from the scrutiny that is due an incumbent president. And it's kind of like he's hiding in the basement all over again. I'll be right back.